Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see you. Hope you're all keeping well. Good morning, in particular, to those that have already said good morning. Peter, Mervyn, Clarice, Carol. Lovely to see you on this wonderfully bright winter's day or autumn day. So today's learning is dedicated in memory of Amibas, Aryeh, Paul, Casimir, Shol ben Shlomo, Yoram, Yirmiyahu, Yechia ben Moshe Eliezer, Shlomo Yechia ben Moshe Eliezer, ben Sion ben Yitzchak, Aryeh ben Shimon, Leah bas Feivel, Avram Mordechai ben Moshe Katna, Menashe ben Tzvi Zalman, Ralia bas Avram Pinkus. We wish their respective families long life. So if I was to ask you, can you change the world? Most of you would say, I guess, no, you can't change the world. Who am I? What am I? What difference can I actually make? I'm a small speck, one of 7 billion. I'm not going to be able to make any difference, not to society and not to the world at large. Well, it's interesting because Noach, who appears in this week's Torah portion, on the one hand, appears as a righteous individual. On the other hand, he is criticized quite harshly and severely. Let's have a look at the very first verse, and it will become abundantly clear the contradictions, in a sense, in Noach and in his life. The verse says as follows. We'll say it in Hebrew first. Eile told us Noach. These are the generations of Noach. Noach ish tzaddik. Noach was a righteous person. Tamim haya bedorotav. He was righteous, perfect in his generation. The rabbis on this are able to expound and suggest, in fact, there is a dispute. When it says that he was righteous in his generation, what is the implication? Some are of the opinion he was only righteous in his generation. Contrast him with those who were around him, which were corrupt, which were evil, which were debased of any moral values and ethics. He looked like a tzaddik, he looked like a righteous person, right? But compare him to the generation of Abraham, or to Abraham himself, he would have been a nobody. And others to say the exact opposite. Noach was righteous in his generation. He managed to maintain his own righteousness. He managed to maintain his own moral compass. And that was despite the fact that all around him, the world was falling apart. It's interesting, isn't it? Think about what's been going on in the last few days. And you can see those contrasts in those two opinions of Noach in our society. They have some that we have seen, I think, exhibit the worst behavior in society. Punching each other, fighting over petrol, screaming and shouting. And there are others that have gone out their way to try to be courteous, to try to be helpful, to try to ensure that everyone gets petrol, rather than being selfish, egocentric, and self-centered. And a person who is able, at the time of a crisis, to be able to stand up and to still maintain their lofty standards, to still maintain their moral compass, to be true to themselves, that, in my opinion, is one of the greatest accolades that a person can have in life. It's so difficult because at the moment it's natural for a person to feel about survival. How am I going to manage? How am I going to make it? And I have to think about myself and others. But the truth is that we never lose through doing the right thing. And when we stop panicking and flapping and calm down, we are able always to find a way through whatever turmoil we are dealing with in our lives or in society. And this is just another example. We had COVID, now we've got the petrol crisis, and we've got the supermarket crisis, there's no food on the shelves, and then we'll go to another crisis. And each crisis, as we've mentioned time and again, the word for crisis is the same word as in Hebrew as mashber, birthing store. And the late Chief Rabbi Lord Sachs, was keen to point out that the reason for that association between opportunity and birthing stool is because whenever you go through something, any type of pain, any type of ordeal, it gives birth to a new opportunity, to something unprecedented, to great potential. And that is precisely where we find ourselves today. It is always an opportunity to help, and we've seen it in our own little community with a WhatsApp group, and everyone's trying to post opportunities for people to be able to get petrol, trying to help each other, not just drive off and think of themselves. And that's the attitude that we have to have. So let's return to Noach now. Perhaps we can, well, you can have your own view, but on the one hand, I think there is a kernel of truth in both camps. On the one hand, there is no question Noach was great. If you imagine that Noach was surrounded, as we mentioned, with so much evil, right? If you're about what did Kipling famously say? If you can keep your head when all about are keeping theirs. So if you're Noach, or if you're able to keep your head when all about are losing theirs, and you're able to maintain your moral compass, that is true righteousness, right? In spite, to swim against the current, to swim against the waves, that takes great tenacity and temerity and great inner strength. But on the other hand, Abraham also lived in a generation that was debased and devoid of morals and ethics, right? And yet he managed not just to be righteous in himself, but to influence those around us, those around him, so that they would also be righteous. How many people did Noach influence? The answer is, and that speaks volumes. We always are interacting with other people. And if we are able to really be true, righteous people, doing the right thing in life, just being that little bit better, we should have some sphere of influence over those around us. And that, like the butterfly effect, has a ripple effect throughout society and throughout the world. So we don't need to directly think, who am I? What am I? I can't influence the whole world. I can't change people. Yeah, but it starts by changing yourself. Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev famously said about I can't remember, he said about somebody said that if first I tried to change the world and I couldn't change the world, then I tried to change the country that I was living in, and I realized I couldn't change the country. So then I tried to change the town, and I realized I couldn't change the town I was living in. Finally, I tried to change myself. And that is where the work starts and stops. So please God, we should all be able to make the necessary changes and improvements in our lives to stay calm, and keep on sharing, giving, and thinking of others. And in that way, we will ensure that we create a better world, a more thoughtful world, and therefore a world where the COVID, the petrol crisis, and all the other things we're dealing with will be a thing of the past. Okay, memorial prayer. Adonai Lamim Zacho Es Nishmas Amibas Ari Paul Casimir Shal Ben Shlomo Yirmiyah Ben Moshe Eliezer Shlomo Yechia Ben Moshe Eliezer Ben Sia Ben Yitzchak Ari Ben Shimon Lebas Vaiva Avram Mordechai Ben Moshe Katna Menashe Ben Tzvi Zalman Lebas Avram Pinkas Shalchu Lilamon Bagan Eden Timenuchos Lachin Varakamim Yastrim Seitzer Kanafav Yalamim Visos Chaim Snishma Samanai Nachlasam Vianuchu Amishkvasam Beshalom Venoma Amen. Long life wishes to all. Lastly, Refuah Shalema prayer. Mi Sheber Chavasein Rabbins Chav Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivach Repes Achilim Babu Shana Mispalim Babu Rambis Chazak Kadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachim Aleihem Lachman Fosam Vishlach Lem Refuah Shalem Nishmayim Lechol Levem Besos Shacha Yisrael Refuah Sa Nefesh Refuah Sa Guf Hashtag Margaret Amar. Amen. Lovely to see everyone back, and please God, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Think about it. Noach is righteous, but he could have been even more righteous. He could have been an Abraham. Food for thought for us, for life. Take care. Keep safe, keep well.